Okay, my friends, so we're currently editing my second book, Dying with Regrets. So we're going to pick up from where we last left off, where I was speaking how me and my girlfriend at the time went on 5 trips around the world to multiple countries, different locations, and for some odd reason, although we was having, say, an amazing time visiting all these countries, we were arguing, and I didn't understand why at the time. However, when we come back from our last trip, my girlfriend said to me that we should stop spending as much time with each other. So, this was just before we were about to go to, say, Cape Town, just in the early months of the following year. So, this is where I'm going to pick up from. So, the weekend before I was due to leave, my fantastic friend agreed to go out with me for the last meal together before I left. The next part was what confirmed my belief in fate. We both frantically tried and failed to book a restaurant for 8 o'clock that evening. We tried everywhere, literally. Even the most expensive restaurants in town turned us away. Eventually, I found one restaurant who confirmed that they had a free table. As we arrived, we were guided to our table, and as we sat down, my friend in front of me, as we arrived, we were guided to our table, and as we sat down, my friend in front of me, right in front of my eyes, was my partner / ex-partner, sat there with another man. I took a deep breath, shook his hand, and then explained exactly how I felt to her, and left. As I walked out into the cold, crisp winter air, there was instantly a huge weight which had lifted from my shoulders. This certainly wasn't what I wanted to see, but it was definitely what I needed to see. As much as witnessing this shattered my heart into a million pieces, there was also this huge sense of liberation, because all the rubbish that had been running around in my mind, sending me mad, in that moment was confirmed to be completely true. I wasn't going crazy like I was beginning to believe. I also realised that in that moment we can't control other people's thoughts, opinions, words or actions, but we can, however, control the meaning and the response that we give to them. In life, all we can ever do is control the controllables. And just know that it's not usually what happens to us that hurts us, but it's the meaning and the response. But it's the meaning that we give to that specific thing. Maybe I'm going to change that. Just know that it's not usually what happens. Just know that it's not usually what happens to us that hurts us, but it's the meaning we give to that specific thing. Actually, no, it's okay. The next day, I let my emotions get the better of me and decided to go and visit her to find out all the answers. This didn't go down too well. I pleaded with her to be totally honest with me. Our motto had always been, honesty is the best policy, or so I thought. Some of the things that I said were, I thought you wanted to be single, and how long have you been with this guy, I asked, to which she replied, I didn't until I met him 2 weeks ago. Yeah, mess that up. Yeah, there we go. When arriving home that evening, I was rushing around trying to find all my travel accessories for the Cape Town trip, and knew we kept them all in a bag under the bed, which she was now sometimes sleeping in. Unknowingly, as I opened the backpack to search for the accessories, I found 2 passports and 2 boarding passes. This seemed a little odd, so I curiously opened the first passport, which was hers, and then the second one, which was that of this guy she had supposedly met just 2 weeks ago. Checking the boarding passes, I saw that they were the return tickets from Dubai, which had also landed back in the UK the very same day that my nan passed away, just 2 weeks prior. Do you know anybody that goes abroad on their first date? I wish she would have just been honest from the very start. Of course, I would have obviously been upset, but the prolonged suffering of not knowing lasted many long months, which caused me much more pain. Next chapter is I Can Do This. On the morning of my first ever solo trip, I was up super early, showered, packed and ready to go. I seemed to have a new lease of life and was determined to make this trip one to really remember. As I pulled up at the airport, I received a text from my ex to try and justify her actions, but I deleted it and focused on my first ever trip alone. Whilst 30-odd thousand feet up in the air, panic mode began to kick in because of the sudden realisation that I was on the way to Cape Town completely by myself. All of those limiting beliefs began to spiral round in my mind, and I really started to doubt my decisions to go on this trip. But it was too late to turn back now. As I arrived, I was greeted with the warm smile from the shuttle bus driver who dropped me all the way to the front door of my hostel. You may have just read the word hostel and thought, oh my god. I had thought the same at first, because there can be so much stigma attached to staying in a hostel. However, once I wrote down all the pros and cons of staying in a hostel for the first time by myself, I soon realised that if I booked an apartment, it would have been like staying at home, feeling devastated, but in a completely unknown country. I needed a completely different environment. I need to change that 1 second. What word can I use for completely? Because I used it twice there. It would have been like staying at home alone, feeling devastated, but in a completely unknown country. I needed a totally different environment. There we go, my friends. I needed company. After checking in, I immediately dropped my backpack in my dorm and then headed downtown to the waterfront. As I was walking, I had the amazing view of Table Mountain. The sun was shining down on me and I was surrounded by all the hustle and bustle of people going about their everyday lives. I was now in my element. I felt great, and after sitting and people watching for a few hours, I decided to make my way back to the hostel as the sun was setting. I got back and showered for my first ever evening at the hostel. I had put my name down for the Braai night. This was an incredible experience where all guests gathered around a large dining table and ate beautiful barbecued meats and shared life stories with one another. I truly felt as if I was part of a new family. Over the next 2 weeks, I spent time with some incredible individuals who are now friends for life. Being surrounded by these types of people helped lift me up and bring out the best in me. I noticed that my confidence was building and that I'd become much more courageous, to the point I was challenging myself to step outside of my comfort zone more and more every single day. I felt brand new. I felt alive. In fact, I felt better than ever before. This showed me that the places where we are and the people who we surround ourselves with have a huge impact on our lives. But sadly, this trip couldn't and didn't last forever. Okay, my friends, we're going to stop it there and we're going to carry on the next one. If you want to get involved, get yourself on the wait list at dyingwithregrets.ryannurse.com or click the link in my Instagram bio here. Peace out, my friends. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.